going on, Jerome's? The Vikings are allegedly 1-3, but the best 1-3 team in NFL history, and we're basically at the quarter mark of the season. That's the only downside of the 17-game season is, well, it was 16, it was quarter, but now it's like, actually, the quarter part of the season is in the first quarter of Game 5. Shut up. But Minnesota Fighting Vikings general manager Kwesi Adofo-Mensah has been doing a lot of things this offseason. Kwesi has indeed been cooking. But, I mean, some fans, they like the Moneyball approach. Some don't. Clearing up some cap, parting ways with some veterans, adding some great free agents. And the draft 2023 is better than 2022. All that stuff. So, at least we have that going on for us. But some people see Kwesi more like... yeah, in terms of being a boss, but it is what it is. Kwesi, I like that he gambles. I like that he rolls the dice because no gamble, no future. Scared money don't make money, and eventually all he does is win, no matter what. Anyways, so going through, we're going to grade his acquisitions, the major ones, the departures, as well as the draft picks. So going through again, so we're going over the main one. So if you want Greg Mock grades, go somewhere else. Anyways, first up, wide receiver punt returner Brandon Powell. C- so far. So this one is more, Kevin O'Connell, Wes Phillips, former Rams guy, but he came in and he basically won the wide receiver 4 spot with Jalen Naylor being injured. He beat out Jalen Reagor since him and Powell were a little bit redundant. Saved some cash with Jalen. And so far, Powell's been aight. 9 punt returns, 5 yards per return, 1 catch for 5 yards. Did have that one fumble in a very inopportune spot after a very solid punt return, but so it is what it is. I do like him as a wide receiver 5 as well as a returner, and hopefully he can hang on to the damn football just like this rest of the team the rest of the way. Josh Oliver, so he signed a 3-year, $21 million deal this offseason. A+. So PFF's number 1 graded tight end. He's a monster in the run game. He's really setting the tone out there. We've talked about how 12 personnel causes a mismatch with the defenses. And Oliver, he's got soft hands too. Caught a touchdown against the Chargers. I think he's an underutilized red zone threat. I mean, yeah, his hold did take back a JJ touchdown against the Panthers, which led to the 99-yard pick 6, but whatever. But I do think that Josh Oliver is a major signing, and the Vikings do have the best tight end duo in the National Football League. Marcus Davenport, B-. Now, you could make a case for incomplete, except we're not cowards, because you just say, oh, every grade is incomplete, whatever. But Marcus Davenport finally was healthy off of his ankle injury, and he showed up in big way against Carolina. He really changed the calculus in terms of a blitzing percentage. It dropped in half versus what would have been the first 3 games of the season, down to about 30%. 3 pressures and a sack against Carolina. Also was just disruptive in the run game, and you could tell that the way that Flores is using him, both on the inside as well as the interior pass rusher, it's beautiful, man. And again, knocking on all the wood. Light a candle for Marcus Davenport. Hopefully he stays healthy the rest of the year. Next up, defensive end Dean Lowry coming over from the greasy grimy Green Bay Packers. D-. All right, so I understand it's a value contract and just sort of, plug in and plan, helping to replace Diesel Dalvin Tomlinson, but I haven't been overly impressed. 4 games, 138 snaps, only 6 tackles, 1 pressure. Did have 1 pass broken up at the line against Bryce Young, but I don't know. I feel like Lowry's best days, like he was solid at times with the Packers, and of course back at Northwestern, he was a dude, but I don't know, just not seeing it. Like Jaquelin Roy needs to play a lot more than Dean Lowry. I'm glad that that's trending in that direction. Cornerback Byron Murphy Jr. coming over from Arizona, because all we do is bring over free agent Arizona cornerbacks. C so far. Where Murphy, he's had some tough tasks, yes, but 125.4 quarterback rating when thrown at, gave up 1 touchdown in coverage, has 2 penalties. Like Murphy, he's been solid. He's been jury's still out. Jury's still out on Byron Murphy Jr. Although I do love that versatility, playing inside and outside. Then the 2 newer guys. So got Dalton Reiser coming in. Say a B- so far, where he's got in on field goal, hasn't quite taken over a starting spot, although they paid him $4 million. But frankly, outside of a couple of big plays, which are kind of key, Ed Ingram is playing better. Ezra Cleveland is playing out of his damn mind right now, which is great. And part of that is because they got Reisner sitting off to the side, ready to replace them if their game slips. But we'll see what happens with Dalton Reisner going forward. Frankly, wouldn't shock me at all if he does start on Sunday in place of Ed Ingram, given his familiarity with Chris Jones and the Chiefs, but we'll see. Cam Akers, running back, basically for a draft pick swap in 2025,000, who cares? But I'd say it's A+, where you basically pick up Cam Akers for nothing, and he finally got some run against the Panthers at 5 carries for 40 yards. He's got bursts, he's got vision, he's got patience, he's got everything, and he's super motivated now that he's out from the Rams, and I think that he'll be a nice change of pace. Him and Madison will be a nice 1-2 combination in the backfield. So mainly A+ on value, and we'll just go from there. Next up, Yegon. So players that were either cut or allowed to walk at the end of their deals, and there's some luminaries, some big time names there, and I know that people have very very nostalgic opinions on some of these guys, but again, it's better to let a player go a year too early versus a year too late. Starting off with Thielen, all right, B-. All right, so could the Vikings still use Thielen in the red zone? Certainly, but I don't know, like he wasn't that guy anymore, and he had $11.8 million base salary. He got about 8 in change over a 3-year deal with the Panthers. He's got 27 catches, 287 yards, 2 touchdowns so far on 33 targets. Played well against the Vikings, had 7 catches, but I don't know, like, fantastic story. He's always going to be a Vikings great, but I prefer Addison and also prefer the cap space. Next up, off-ball linebacker Eric Kendricks. Kendricks was a dog for so many years, like him and Anthony Barr, the Bruins connection, that Zimmer defense, but letting go of Kendricks is an A. So he was due a $9.1 million base salary, signed with his hometown Chargers, so he gets to play a year, maybe 2, in his hometown. He's got a young family and lots of interest outside of football, so respect. Kendricks has been dealing with a hamstring injury. He missed the homecoming game week 3, but he's got 13 tackles over 2 games, and he's doing all right. He's doing all right with Kenneth Murray and Diane Henley out there with the Chargers. Next up, tight end Irv Smith Jr., A. So Irv was a second-round pick, man, and you expected more, but Irv had injury issues, although you could say maybe silver lining, like if Irv didn't get hurt right before the trade deadline last year, maybe the Vikings don't trade for Hawkinson. And even though Hawkinson's had his ups and downs, he's worth the money, and he is still an elite tight end. But Irv signed on with Cincinnati. Bengals have been very poopy, but not necessarily all on Irv. But five catches for 27 yards on 9 targets over 2 games. It's whatever. Although Irv could be catching some passes from Jake Browning, former teammates from back in the day here very soon. Quarterback Patrick Peterson. So P-Squared had himself some good seasons here with the Vikings. He's a future first ballot Hall of Famer in my book, and now he's with the Pittsburgh Steelers. But I don't know, man. I don't like. It's so funny, like him talking big about Brock Purdy, and then Ayak putting up 2 touches on him. But the grade A. Actually, we'll say A+. Yeah. So Patrick Peterson is 33. Did have a 67.7 PFF grade right now, but has allowed 4 touchdowns in coverage and just meh. Outside linebacker Zadarius Smith. So Zadarius signed a 3-year deal with the Vikings last offseason. It was a very, very team-friendly deal with not a lot of guaranteed money in the middle. He played at a Defensive Player of the Year clip first half of the season. Then he got dinged up against the Bills and wasn't the same. And it was a big to-do. And Kwesi eventually traded him to the Browns for a late-round pick swappy swap, so it's whatever. But the Browns' defense has been really good this year. But a lot of that has been because of Myles Garrett and company. And Zadarius has been fine, but overall I'll give this one a B-. Like, could the Vikings have used him? Sure, especially when Davenport was dinged up. But also, if the Vikings kept Zadarius, they probably don't sign Davenport. So there you go. And Zadarius is 31. He's on a revised 1-year, $11 million deal with the Browns, but 13 pressures, 0 sacks so far. Speaking of the Browns, so Diesel Dalvin Tomlinson, his contract voided. He signed with the Browns, $14.25 million per year, which, I mean, I love me some Diesel Dalvin, but we ain't paying $14 million a year for Dalvin Tomlinson, man. But 5 tackles and half a sack so far this year. And then, of course, Dalvin Cook, where a lot of people had a lot of emotions about Dalvin Cook, especially when the Vikings' run game sputtered the first 2 games, but the run game is back on track with Madison and Akers, who, again, ironically replaced Dalvin Cook in Florida State in 2017 when he was drafted by the Vikings. But moving on from Dalvin, Yeah, it's an A+. We're 74 rushing yards so far with the Jets, 2.5 yards per carry. I lost a fumble against the Cowboys, which is on brand, and he has a one-year deal worth up to $8.3 million. And Jets fans are just like, can we just cut him and give all of his carries to the rookie Izzy Abakanda from Pitt? Who knows? So the rookies coming on and grading him so far. Jordan Addison, I mean, hold on. Actually, we're going to revise that. So Puka Nacua would be an A+, but we'll just give Addison an A. There we go. So 13 catches, $185, and 2 touchdowns on 20. Both of his touchdowns in the first 2 games, which is great to see. He threatens at all 3 levels. Does need to work on his blocking a little bit, so JJ's ribs don't get freaking caved in, man, on those tunnel screens, bro. But Addison, I think there's a lot of potential there. I think that he will be the future Robin to Justin Jefferson's Batman. So overall, yep, super happy of the first-round pick. Quarterback Mekhi Blackman coming out of USC. So sort of been sprinkled in as the 4th cornerback behind Caleb Evans as well as Byron Murphy Jr. Blackman so far, give him a solid B. 68 snaps, 7 tackles, 64.1 PFF grade. Played inside and outside a little bit. Did well in preseason. I think that he's a guy that, super feisty in run defense as well. So I think that he's a guy that will eventually become a starter and become a very solid piece of this defense. Next up, safety. Carry on my J-word, son. C so far. All right, so Jay Ward played decent in preseason. So far, only on special teams in the regular season. 58 special team snaps. Did have that one dumb penalty, which allowed the Buccaneers drive week 1 to continue. 2 missed tackles, but the whole thing of woulda, coulda, shoulda in the draft, where I understand that Aiden O'Connell and Dorian Thompson-Robinson had really rough debuts this week, but I like their prospects long term. Even though I like me some Jaron Hall, I mean, Aiden O'Connell and DTR were just right there, and the stupid O'Connell to O'Connell jokes were there. I don't know, man. I don't know. But I do think, especially given Jay Ward's versatility, Brian Flores sticks around for a couple of years. I think that Jay Ward could be that guy. Next up, defensive tackle Jaquelin Roy. So Roy is starting to progress and get a little bit more run. We'll give him a B+. Eventually, I think that he will fully replace Dean Lowry, which would be good. But so far, 26 snaps, 3 tackles, a 66 PFF run defense grade. And the Vikings need guys up front who can win one-on-one spots, and Jaquelin can do that. He's got man-sized strength, especially in the upper body right now, and I think that he can go. Next up, 5th-round pick, Jaron Hall, the pride of BYU. Give him a B, where as a developmental quarterback, emergency QB3 right now, yeah, I think overall I do like him. 54.2% completion percentage in preseason, 264 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. I think that Kevin O'Connell spoke very highly of him. I do like that Jaron Hall is a bit of a gamer. I do like that he throws an accurate ball. I like that he does have some movement skills. I like that he does have the strength to throw it outside the numbers deep. And also, of course, in college, BYU, who made Puka Nacua, no big deal. And also, I like that his draft status doesn't necessarily impede the Vikings from drafting a quarterback next year. Like, if one is there, whether it's first round, day 2, wherever, again, one of the deepest quarterback class, if not the deepest in quarterback history, NFL draft history, you can go from there. Running back, Dwayne McBride, no. All right, so D-. So I know he scored 2 touchdowns in preseason, but the fact that he was relegated to the practice squad, the fact that they felt compelled to bring in Akers, like McBride, was who he was at UAB, rushing champ, but kind of in the Emmitt Smith role, like not a burner, not a power back, just very patient and just sort of glides out there. Like he just doesn't have that burst. He just doesn't. So I don't know. Not very bullish on Run DMC's future. Although fantastic nickname. Come on, man. Carrying the torch from Darren McFadden. Lastly, 2 major UDFAs. Ivan Pace Jr. A+. Plus. Can we do that? All right, so A++ for Ivan Pace Jr., obviously. 80.7 PFF grade, which is off-ball linebacker 7 in the NFL. Not just rookies, for all off-ball linebackers in the league. 25 tackles, 6 pressures, half a sack. I think that he needs to be unleashed more as a blitzer in Brian Flores' scheme. Also, you saw him out there against Carolina wearing the green dot, making the calls, lining things up. As a UDFA rookie, that's amazing, man. The Vikings absolutely snagged themselves a star. And I know the Kwesi detractors would be like, oh, Kwesi doesn't get credit for Ivan Pace Jr. He could have signed anywhere. It's actually landing a UDFA is actually a little bit more difficult than a 7th-round pick. Because in the draft, hey, you come here. But as a UDFA, especially a priority UDFA like Pace Jr. and Carter II, it takes a little bit of case, takes a little bit of finesse. So, yes, absolutely, Kwesi does deserve credit for Pace Jr. and Carter II. Speaking of Carter II, so B+ so far. Played 14 pass rushing reps so far, 3 pressures, does have 1 tackle. Did have an injury that sort of slowed him in preseason, and he does need some work. But I do like his bend off the edge. I do like his athleticism. I do like that he's... So the one thing about service academy players is that they have to fit their guidelines of their academy, which is... Yes, that's priority 1. But Andre Carter II is still growing into what his football body is going to be in the NFL. So he's a project, but he's a fun project. And I'm absolutely fine with that, man. But that's it. That's grading Kwesi's offseason moves at the quarter mark of the season. Let us know your thoughts on our thoughts in the comment section below. Subscribe for daily Vikings takes. Want to support the work? Put a little something in the Venmo. But until next time, Skol, production value.